closer than ever to getting the version of royal life they originally wanted. And that is exactly why this moment is so explosive. When Megxit was first negotiated, the late Queen Elizabeth II drew a clear line. Harry and Meghan could leave working royal life, but they could not be half in and half out. They could not keep the royal platform, the royal protection, the royal prestige, and the public authority of monarchy, while also building a commercial life around media deals and personal branding. That settlement was meant to be final. But now, with Queen Elizabeth gone, King Charles facing his own health concerns, and America seemingly far less enchanted by the Sussexes than it once was, the old argument is coming back in a new form. The question being asked now is blunt. Are Harry and Meghan plotting a return to the United Kingdom because America has gone cold? Tom Sykes, a well-connected royal journalist and host of The Royalist, has written about exactly that possibility. The core of his argument is not that Harry and Meghan will suddenly become full-time working royals again. That would still be extremely difficult and deeply unpopular. The more realistic concern is that they may be edging toward a softer, more ambiguous arrangement, more time in Britain, more direct contact with King Charles, a UK base, more visibility for Archie and Lilibet as royal children, and eventually a semi-official role that gives Harry the benefits of royal proximity without the full obligations of royal duty. That is why the recent Highgrove meeting matters so much. A meeting with the king is never just a family chat when the family is the monarchy. And Highgrove is not an ordinary location. It is one of Charles's most personal homes, his private retreat, the place most associated with his gardens, his inner life, and the childhood memories of William and Harry. For Harry, Meghan, and the children to be welcomed there sends a powerful symbolic message. It says they were not just received somewhere neutral, they were allowed back into a deeply personal royal space. Supporters of the king will say this is simply a father wanting to see his son and a grandfather wanting to know his...
Even the funeral, I mean, it was very, very badly handled, but, you know, there we are. So a huge amount of power surged to William. And as one person said to me, you know, if you're involved in this world, you have a responsibility to think about what happens when the king dies, if he announces that he has cancer. But then at Christmas this year, Charles gave this extraordinary address on television, didn't he, at the Stand Up for Cancer, where he said, basically, I'm doing a hell of a lot better. I'm not recovered, I'm not cancer-free, but I'm doing a heck...
Grandchildren. That is emotionally understandable. Charles is in his late 70s, and although reporting suggests his cancer treatment has been going well, no serious person can ignore the effect of illness on family thinking. When people face mortality, they often reassess old wounds. They want reconciliation. They want to see children and grandchildren. They do not want the final chapter of a relationship to be bitterness. On that human level, Charles's instinct makes sense. But monarchy is not only family, it is also institution, constitution, symbolism, and public duty. That is where the danger begins. The phrase used in palace briefing was reportedly, blood is blood. On one level, that sounds moving. On another, it sounds like an excuse used when no stronger institutional reason exists. Blood may explain why Charles personally wants to soften toward Harry. It does not explain why the crown should take risks on people who have repeatedly damaged the institution in public, accepted money for telling private stories, and attacked the family through interviews, a Netflix series, and Spare. This is why critics argue that Charles needs more steel. As father, he may forgive. As king, he has to consider consequences. Harry did not merely fall out with his relatives over a private misunderstanding. He and Meghan helped create a global narrative that damaged the monarchy's reputation. The Oprah interview included explosive allegations that echoed around the world. The Netflix series renewed the conflict for an international audience. Spare put private family moments permanently into print. If the king now welcomes Harry and Meghan back without clear boundaries, the message to the public may be that even severe betrayal has no lasting institutional consequence. Tom Sykes suggested that Charles and Harry may be more alike temperamentally than Charles and William. That is an important point. Charles has often been described as impatient with process, emotionally reactive, and frustrated by officials telling him what cannot be done quickly. Harry has shown similar traits: impatience, grievance, impulsiveness, and a desire to push through obstacles because he feels personally wronged. William, by contrast, is colder, more disciplined, and more black and white. He may not be easy, but he is far more aligned with the dutiful side of monarchy. That may help explain why Charles seems to have a special softness for Harry. He has long called Harry his darling boy. He may see his younger son as wounded, misunderstood, and emotionally closer to himself. He may also feel guilt over the breakdown of the family after Diana's death and over the different emotional burdens William and Harry carried as children. The tragedy is that this softness, if not controlled, can become an institutional weakness. There is also a darker emotional possibility. Charles may see in Harry a version of himself, restless, impatient with restriction, convinced that courtiers and systems are getting in the way, and hungry to be understood. William, meanwhile, may remind Charles of duty, Diana, public approval, and the future that is already waiting beyond him. That does not mean Charles dislikes William, and it certainly does not mean he wants to harm him. But family dynamics are rarely clean. A father can admire one son and feel judged by him at the same time. A king can love the heir and still resent the speed.
When everything blew up 3 years ago, whatever it was, with Charles's cancer diagnosis, I think it was like a practical reaction of like, oh my God, this is all happening a hell of a lot faster than we had accounted for, than we had planned for, or than we had thought. And I think that actually, I don't think that William will have any problem at all with delaying his accession to the throne for 10 years once he gets his head around it and once the people around him get his head around it. But I mean, the sad thing is that you always have to say with Charles, and what people always say is they say, look, you know, things can change.
With which the court begins looking toward the next reign. This is why Harry's return cuts so deeply. It is not only that Charles is forgiving Harry, it is that the forgiveness appears to come at the expense of the son who stayed. William has spent years absorbing pressure quietly. He has watched his wife be attacked, his children become part of global speculation, and his private arguments with his brother turned into published material. If Harry now receives warmth, access, and symbolic restoration, while William is expected to remain silent and dignified, the message inside the family could feel painfully upside down. For William, the situation must look profoundly unfair. Over the past 2 decades, he has largely done what was asked of him. He has supported his father, remained silent about Camilla despite the painful history involving Diana, protected the future of the monarchy, and tried to raise Charlotte and Louis within the pressures of public life. He did not write a memoir attacking the family. He did not turn private arguments into global content. He did not leave and build a commercial operation on royal grievance. Yet now, Harry, who did all of those things, is being given access to the king's inner circle again. William's response so far appears to be silence. His staff are not briefing aggressively. His friends are not publicly lashing out. He is embodying the old royal principle: never complain, never explain. That restraint is intelligent, because anything William says would become part of the Sussex drama. If he speaks against Harry, he looks hard and unforgiving. If he supports reconciliation, he risks legitimizing a process he may privately oppose. Silence allows him to keep focus on his work and family while letting the public draw its own conclusions. But silence does not mean approval. It is very hard to imagine William feeling relaxed about Harry and Meghan being welcomed at Highgrove. It is harder still to imagine Catherine welcoming the return of Sussex stress after her own serious health challenges. The Wales family represents the future monarchy. They have every reason to want stability, discipline, and distance from the chaos that has followed Harry and Meghan for years. If Charles is opening doors now that William may one day have to close, that is a serious problem. The deeper power dynamic may be tied to Charles's health. When Charles's cancer diagnosis became public, there was genuine concern inside and outside the palace. In moments like that, power naturally begins to shift toward the heir. Staff, courtiers, charities, politicians, and institutions start thinking practically about succession. William became more central almost immediately because people had to plan for the possibility that his reign could arrive sooner than expected. But as Charles's treatment appeared to go better, and as he resumed more public confidence, he may have felt the need to reassert himself. In other words, the king may be saying, quietly but firmly, I am still here, I am still sovereign, this is still my family, and I will decide how it is handled. If that is part of the calculation, then Harry's return becomes more than a family reconciliation. It becomes a symbol of Charles reclaiming control from the gravitational pull of William's future reign. That would explain why some around Charles might even take pleasure in clipping William's wings. William and Catherine are the golden couple. They are popular, disciplined, and associated with the monarchy's long-term survival. Charles, for all his virtues, has often been described by commentators as sensitive to attention and sometimes jealous of more popular figures around him. He spent decades waiting behind Queen Elizabeth. He may not want to spend his reign feeling overshadowed by William before he has even finished being king. This is a delicate point, because no one can know exactly what is in Charles's mind. It may be unfair to reduce his behavior to jealousy or rivalry. But royal courts are not just families. They are power systems. Staff members, advisors, households, and loyalists all have interests. Charles's court wants Charles to remain central. William's court is preparing for the future. When a monarch's health crisis shifts power toward the heir and then the monarch stabilizes, tension is almost inevitable. Queen Elizabeth managed that transition differently. And in the final years of her reign, Charles effectively operated as a kind of
Charles keeps making these insane decisions and these very unpopular decisions. And I think that really, if he was actually to follow the example of his mother made Charles the co-regent for the last 10 years of her reign, and Charles was frankly allowed to do pretty well what he liked. He was allowed to get rid of her private secretary, Christopher Geit. He was allowed to kick Andrew off the balcony. He was, all these things he was allowed to do. And I think the problem that William's court perceive is that it doesn't see
regent in many areas. He was allowed to take on more authority, shape decisions, and prepare the ground for his own reign. Critics now argue that Charles is not offering William the same courtesy. Instead of leaving William a settlement he can inherit cleanly, Charles may be creating a bear trap, a Sussex arrangement that William dislikes, the public distrusts, and the future king will have to manage once Charles is gone. The phrase rival royal court is central here. If Harry and Meghan remain in Montecito, far from Britain, producing occasional media projects and brand statements, William may not like it, but the arrangement is manageable. Distance limits the threat. They can be noisy, but they are outside the royal operating system. The danger begins if that rival court gains a British foothold. A UK base, royal meetings, semi-official appearances, recognised titles for the children, and access to royal settings would give the Sussex operation far more power. That is where the half-in, half-out fear returns. Harry may not receive a formal working royal role immediately, but he may not need one at first. The path could be gradual: private family meetings, charity visits, palace-adjacent language, more press references to Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet, security arrangements, a place to stay, and eventually a soft role that looks unofficial but carries royal weight. If Harry gets even a small semi-official function, it could unlock everything he has been fighting for: security, legitimacy, housing, and a reason for the children to spend time in Britain. Security is a major part of the puzzle. Harry has fought for better protection in the UK for years. If he is merely a private individual visiting from California, his security claim is harder. If he becomes royal adjacent again, or is seen to be acting in some recognized family or charitable capacity, the argument changes. A semi-official role could make it easier for him to claim that he and his family need police protection. That is why the path back matters so much. It is not just about emotions, it is about practical benefits. The children are another important part of the story. Archie and Lilibet are innocent, and they should not be blamed for adult decisions, but they also carry royal titles. The palace reportedly referred to them as Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet.
Described them as HRH, Prince Archie, which they are, and that,
sounds like a compromise. That's a fudge, isn't it?
It could be, but it's a fairly tasty bit of fudge for Harry and Meghan for them to be described as Prince and Princess, because, funnily enough, the Prince and Princess is the easiest bit to take away, right? As we saw with Prince Andrew, you just write a letter to the London Gazette, apparently, and apparently that counts for something. I mean, it was talking of fudge.
Though not necessarily with the full HRH styling emphasized. That may look like a small wording choice, but in royal terms, wording is never small. If the king's side continues to recognize them publicly as Prince and Princess, it becomes harder for William later to strip back that symbolism. This creates a generational risk. Archie and Lilibet could become future characters in the royal drama, whether they want that or not. As teenagers or young adults, they may ask why they cannot spend more time in Britain, why they are Prince and Princess, and why their cousins George, Charlotte, and Louis occupy the central royal stage. That could create decades of tension. What seems like a compassionate gesture from Charles today may become a constitutional and family complication for William tomorrow. It also creates a media risk. The Wales children are being raised carefully, with limited public exposure, and a clear understanding that George, in particular, will one day carry the burden of kingship. Archie and Lilibet, by contrast, are being raised outside the formal system, but still with titles that connect them to it. If they later step into the public story as American-raised prince and princess figures, the contrast will be irresistible to broadcasters, magazines, and online platforms. One side will represent discipline, duty, and inheritance. The other will represent exile, glamour, grievance, and California. That is ready-made drama, and it could follow the family for years. Titles are not only decorative, titles create expectations. They tell children who they are, they tell the public what to watch, and they give media outlets a reason to keep returning to the story. A child called Prince or Princess will eventually be asked what that title means. If the answer is nothing, then the title looks empty and performative. If the answer is something, then William has a future problem. Charles may think he is being kind by allowing the titles to sit there, but kindness without a long-term plan can become confusion. The possibility of Archie and Lilibet being educated in Britain would intensify everything. A British school would require security, residence, regular travel, and ongoing connection with the royal system. It would also strengthen their identity as royal children rather than distant California relatives. For Harry and Meghan, that may be attractive. For William, it could look like the creation of a parallel youth branch of the monarchy, one that has title, attention, and American media interest without the same discipline expected of the Wales children. This is why the Highgrove meeting cannot be treated as only a grandfatherly gesture. It may be private in intention, but it is public in consequence. The location, the titles, the timing, the briefing, and the broader Sussex strategy all turn it into something larger. Charles may believe he can separate family from institution, the public may not. Harry and Meghan certainly understand that proximity to the king has value. Harry's legal troubles make that value even clearer. He recently suffered a serious defeat in his case against Associated Newspapers, the publisher of the Daily Mail. After losing, he attacked the judgment as a complete and obvious whitewash. That statement was risky on several levels. First, it was a direct attack on the outcome of a major High Court case. Second, it questioned the fairness of a legal process tied to the independent judiciary. Third, the same judge, Mr. Justice Nicklin, still had to deal with costs issues that could have major financial consequences for Harry. In a constitutional monarchy, this is not a small matter. The courts operate under the authority of the Crown. The King's crest sits above judges. The monarch is expected to defend the rule of law and the independence of the judiciary. If the King's own son publicly denounces a judgment in such inflammatory terms and is then welcomed back into the royal fold, critics will ask what message that sends. Is Charles defending the institution or indulging the son who has just attacked one of its foundations? That is why some commentators describe Charles's move as a constitutional risk. Harry's statement was not just a bad-tempered press release. It fed a pattern. Harry wants accountability for others, but struggles when institutions do not give him the answer he wants. He attacks the press, then attacks the court when the press wins. If Charles now treats him as a returning family member without requiring restraint or apology, the monarchy looks weak. There is also the financial motive question. Kelvin Mackenzie and others have suggested that Harry may be keen to repair relations with Charles because he needs money or wants to remain close enough to benefit from inheritance and future support. That is a cynical theory, and it should be treated as speculation. Harry may genuinely want to repair the relationship with his father. He may genuinely feel lonely in America. He may genuinely want his children to know their grandfather, but the suspicion exists because the timing is so striking. American enthusiasm has cooled. The Sussex commercial brand looks less secure. Legal costs may be rising and suddenly Britain is appealing again. The Sussex finances remain a major unknown. Harry and Meghan have made large sums from Netflix, Spare, and other deals. They may still have significant wealth, but their lifestyle is expensive, their security costs are substantial, and the commercial pipeline no longer looks as strong as it did in the early days of Megxit. If Harry is ordered to pay a major costs bill, the pressure could become serious. That is why speculation about the Montecito mansion, Portugal.
And how so?
Well, so if you think about where we were when Charles's cancer was announced. Now, there was a very couple, was it 3 years ago now? There was a very real concern that he could drop dead in 6 to 8 weeks. I mean, it really was. There was a massive panic at the palace. Things were reorganized. And also, what happened as a function of that is that an enormous amount of power just surged instantaneously from the king to the future king, right?
And a renewed UK base continues to grow. Financial pressure would also explain why a return to royal proximity is so useful, even without direct money from Charles. Proximity itself has value. It makes documentaries more marketable, interviews more interesting, charity events more prestigious, and lifestyle branding more royal. It keeps the phone ringing. It gives producers a reason to believe there may be fresh palace-adjacent material. It gives Meghan a stronger claim to Duchess relevance and Harry a stronger claim to public importance. The monarchy does not need to write a check for the Sussexes to benefit. Access can be its own form of currency. That is why the inheritance speculation, while impossible to prove, keeps coming up. The issue is not only whether Harry literally wants money from his father, it is whether financial vulnerability changes the emotional terms of reconciliation. If Harry were thriving independently, his desire to reconnect would be easier to read as purely personal. If his American...
For George, Charlotte and Louis. I mean, this could go on for decades.
Well, I mean, it will go on. It will go on, and it will go on forever. And Charles is making it worse, frankly. And I think it is really unfair on William.
It's true. I mean, if you think about Archie and Lily, when they're teenagers, they're going to be thinking, wait a minute, I'm a prince and I'm a princess too.
They might be thinking gap year in London, Mark, you know.
Oh my goodness. You know, the whole thing is wild. Before we let you go, can we just talk about Harry's mental...
Ventures are cooling and his legal bills are rising, then every friendly gesture toward Charles carries another possible interpretation. That may be unfair to Harry, but it is a consequence of the timing and of the very public way he has chosen to live. The old Sussex brand was built around a polished California identity. Therapy, language, global influence, social justice, mental health, lifestyle, compassion, and the image of a modern couple above the old royal system. But recently, Harry seems to be pivoting back toward a different persona. The cheeky British prince, the casual joker, the pub-friendly royal, the party prince who makes people laugh. His appearances on podcasts and entertainment formats suggest he may be trying to rediscover the version of himself that once made him popular. This change matters because Harry's old popularity was not built on intellectual seriousness. It was built on warmth, informality, military service, mischief, and the feeling that he could talk to anyone. He was not seen as a great thinker, he was seen as approachable. Megxit changed that. In California, Harry was repackaged as a global moral voice, a campaigner against misinformation, a mental health advocate, a media reformer, and a man with insight into systems of trauma. That version of Harry was much heavier, and it required a level of discipline and depth. He has not always convinced...
Making $75 million in legal costs. And Harry is in a corner because he's attacked the verdict, calling it a complete whitewash, therefore questioning the integrity of the judge, Mr. Justice Nicklin. The only problem, Tom, is that Mr. Justice Nicklin is now trying to decide whether Harry should be liable for unlimited legal costs.
Yes, it was an extraordinary own goal by Harry and an incredible example of that kind of rashness and that haste.
Shown. The return of cheeky Harry is therefore both logical and desperate. It is logical because it plays to the part of his personality the public once liked. It is desperate because it suggests the grander reinvention did not work. If the serious Harry had succeeded, there would be no need to reach for the old party prince energy. But the difficulty is that the old Harry belonged inside the royal family. He was funny because he was also protected by the dignity of the institution around him. Outside the institution, the same jokes can look smaller. Without the palace frame, cheekiness can drift into cheapness. That pivot is revealing. If the Montecito Wellness and Influence brand were working brilliantly, there would be less need to revive Fun Harry. The return of the cheeky prince suggests that the Sussexes may understand the previous brand has lost power. Meghan's lifestyle efforts have not created unstoppable momentum. Harry's serious global reformer persona has been damaged by lawsuits, grievances, and public fatigue. So now the brand appears to be shifting back towards something simpler. Harry as a funny, slightly mischievous British royal who can generate viral clips. There may be a young audience for that. Tom Sykes mentioned that his own son noticed a Harry clip on TikTok that had hundreds of thousands of likes. Younger viewers may not care about the constitutional questions, the Sandringham summit, the Oprah interview, or the details of the royal feud. They may simply see a famous royal man saying something funny and share it. That is valuable in a media environment where attention is currency. Harry may not need old royal respect if he can find a new entertainment audience, but that route comes with a cost. It is a long way from the mission Harry and Meghan once described. They said they wanted to change the world, uplift people, and create meaningful media. Becoming a viral royal joker is a much smaller ambition. It may get attention, but it does not restore dignity. It may make Harry visible, but it does not make him statesmanlike. And it does not sit easily beside the idea that he should be welcomed back into serious royal settings with the King and Queen. That contradiction is the Sussex problem in miniature. Harry wants to be taken seriously when he speaks.
Yikes! Is Prince Harry getting close to the king because he wants money? Is Charles punishing William by welcoming Harry and Meghan back into the royal fold? And is Harry plotting a full-time return to the UK, tearing up his original agreement with the late Queen Elizabeth? Well, Tom Sykes, one of the best-connected royal journalists in the world and host of the hit YouTube show The Royalist, has written a bombshell article on his Substack of the same name. And here's the headline.
I'm not surprised, but that doesn't mean that I'm not totally horrified by what has happened. I mean, I think that your question's interesting because when you say at the pace at which it has happened, yes, to be totally honest, I didn't expect to see them coming until next year. But I think that we saw very clearly that there's been this softening up process has been happening for some time, and that we've been being led to this point reasonably gently by the hand.
It's about mental health, security, the press, trauma, and public service. He also wants to be relaxed, cheeky, and relatable when that earns attention. Meghan wants aristocratic polish and American celebrity flexibility. They both want royal association without full royal discipline. The brand keeps changing shape because the old formula is not delivering enough. There is also talk of a possible Diana documentary connected to Netflix. If that happens, William will almost certainly be furious if Harry is involved in a project about their mother without his full support. Diana remains emotionally sacred ground for both brothers, but she is also media gold. Any Sussex-linked documentary about Diana would immediately raise questions. Is this tribute, content, therapy, or brand strategy? The public may be moved by Diana, but many will also feel exhausted by Harry repeatedly returning to family pain as a media product. The possibility of another Sussex documentary, Spare 2, or even a future Meghan tell-all is exactly why Charles's decision looks dangerous to critics. Every renewed family contact becomes potential future material. A tea at Highgrove, a conversation with Camilla, a moment involving the children, a perceived slight about rooms, security, titles, or protocol. Any of it could become a chapter, a scene, an interview, answer, or
aligned with each other than Charles is with William, who are really very, very different people.
Is Harry the favourite son?
Well, I think you'd have to conclude that after, what's happened and what we have seen with our own eyes over the past few days, I think you would have to conclude that he is, because he's being welcomed into Highgrove with the wife and the kid.
Will be feeling about that level of generosity from the king towards these grifters.
Well, I think what's so interesting about how William has played this, and I think it's a really intelligent move on his behalf, his staff are saying nothing. His friends are saying nothing. He is saying absolutely nothing about the whole thing. He is trying to be, and he is being, the living embodiment of never complain, never explain, right? He is just getting on with his business and doing his work. But it's hard to believe that...
Or a sympathetic briefing. The Sussexes have shown that private family experiences can be turned into content. Charles knows that. William knows that. The public knows that. This is why trust is the central issue. If Harry and Meghan want to return to the royal fold, even partially, they must prove they can be discreet. That means no strategic leaks, no friendly briefings about how Meghan felt, no emotional magazine stories after private meetings, no documentaries built around fresh family access, and no public attacks on institutions when things do not go their way. Reconciliation requires restraint. Without restraint, it is only repositioning. Charles may believe he can manage the risk. He may believe that bringing Harry closer will calm him down. He may think an excluded Harry is more dangerous than a partially included Harry. There is logic to that. A completely alienated Harry may keep attacking from California. A Harry who feels loved and included may become less destructive. But critics argue that this,
entirely fair if he stops to think about it. I mean, what has William done over the past 20 years? It actually has barely put a foot out of line. He's completely supported his father. He's never said a word of criticism about Camilla, despite having, for fairly clear historical reasons, good grounds to feel displeased about his father making Camilla the Queen of England. And this is how he's repaid, and it's a slap in the face. But I think the thing that's really fascinating about this, Mark, is that it's actually a function of Charles's recovery
misunderstands the Sussex pattern. Access has often become leverage. Sympathy has often become narrative. Private pain has often become public content. If Charles is wrong, the consequences will not fall mainly on him. They will fall on William. Charles may act out of late life compassion and a desire to heal his family. William may inherit the arrangement. That is the unfairness at the center of this story. The king can open the door. The next king may be forced to deal with what comes through it. The late Queen understood this risk. At Sandringham, she denied Harry and Meghan the half-in, half-out model because she saw the conflict clearly. Royal service cannot be mixed casually with private profit. The crown cannot be used as a commercial platform. The public cannot be asked to fund or respect a role that exists only when convenient. That was the settlement. The question now is whether Charles is quietly undoing it because the Queen is no longer here to enforce it. If Harry and Meghan do win their way back to something close to the original demand, it will not happen in one dramatic announcement. It will happen slowly. A meeting at Highgrove, a warmer briefing, a reference to the children.
very much asserting, look, I am the king. I'm going to be the king. I could live out my natural lifespan if things go well. And I understand that William and particularly Catherine are sort of coming round to it and accepting, okay, that's the way it's going to be. And let's not forget, they are very focused on their family. They're very focused on their kids. A lot of publicity about George this week, who turns 13. Tomorrow is off to Eton, etc., etc., etc.
So I've got to say that the boys that go to Eton come out just perfectly formed.
As Prince and Princess, a UK visit, a possible base, security discussions, a charitable role, more friendly coverage, more time in Britain. Each step will be explained as family, compassion, or common sense. Only later will people look back and realise the settlement has changed. For now, the Sussexes may already be on that path. They have made clear through reporting and commentary that they want more connection to Britain. Meghan is reportedly supportive of reconnecting with Harry's English side. Harry appears increasingly restless with the American life that was supposed to liberate him. The king seems willing to enable at least some form of reunion. And William, for now, is silent. That silence may be the only wise response available to him, but it should not be mistaken for consent. William will be watching every detail: where Harry stays, how Meghan is described, whether the children appear, whether security changes, whether palace language shifts, and whether private meetings stay private. Catherine will be watching too, because any renewed Sussex drama could land directly on the Wales family, just as they are trying to
multiple times on multiple formats for large amounts of money. And, there's an old saying, isn't there, Mark, of, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And I think that this is the risk now. If this goes wrong, right, and somebody takes offense and decides that their chamomile tea was served at the wrong temperature, or that, Archie's wasn't given the right kind of chocolate finger, and then decides to denounce it all on camera for another $20 million payday, the king will unfortunately be in the camp where people will say,
protect their children and build the future of the monarchy. The public will also be watching. Many people can understand a father wanting to see his son. Fewer will accept Harry and Meghan being quietly restored to royal advantage after years of attacks. The British public may forgive family contact. They may not forgive a stealth return to privilege. That distinction is crucial. Charles can see Harry privately. But if private reconciliation becomes public rehabilitation, the backlash could be severe. The Sussexes' challenge is that they need the monarchy more than they want to admit. Their American dream no longer looks strong enough on its own. Their media brand has lost freshness. Their serious image has been dented. Their commercial future is uncertain. Their legal fight has created financial and reputational danger. Royal proximity solves many of those problems at once. It gives Harry identity, it gives Meghan status, it gives the children dynastic meaning, it gives the brand oxygen. The monarchy's challenge is that giving them that oxygen may poison the future.
Pressure financially, and the reason why he's so keen to improve his relationship with Charles is because he wants money and he wants an inheritance when Charles passes.
Yeah, and this is a narrative that and a suspicion that you're starting to see forming a lot now. Is this a kind of is there a more cynical motive behind all this love bombing? It's something that, as you mentioned, Robert raises with me. Very interesting to hear that Kelvin raising it with you. Like to point out, Harry, that this isn't an establishment stitch-up because it was a pre-record.
If Harry and Meghan return without accountability, it tells the public that duty matters less than emotion. If they receive access without restraint, it tells future royals that private rebellion can be rewarded. If Archie and Lilibet become active parts of the royal story while living under a Sussex media strategy, it creates a generational complication for George, Charlotte, and Louis. If William inherits a rival court based partly in Britain, Charles will have left him a problem instead of a clean throne. That is why this story feels so much bigger than one family visit. It is about whether the monarchy is governed by principle or sentiment. It is about whether Queen Elizabeth's settlement still holds. It is about whether Charles is acting as king or father. It is about whether William's future is being protected or undermined. And it is about whether Harry and Meghan, after years of attacking the system, are now being allowed to drift back toward the very privileges they once claimed to reject. The next stage will reveal everything. If Harry returns more often, if Meghan becomes more visible, if the children are brought into the British story,
Now, I have to say that I think if, for once, they actually stick with what they are doing, I think it could save him. Because, let's face it, party prince, cheeky chappy who makes the ladies blush, who you want to have a pint with, it was popular in its day. Now, it may be too late, and the brand may just have been so destroyed by the years of almond milk drinking that to suddenly go back to lager drinking doesn't.
Palace uses warmer language, if security improves, and if a UK base appears, then the direction of travel will be obvious. The Sussexes may not call it half in, half out. They may call it family healing, charitable work, or reconnection with Harry's roots. But the substance will matter more than the label. For Charles, the temptation is clear. He wants peace before it is too late. For Harry, the benefit is clear. He needs relevance, belonging, and possibly financial safety. For Meghan, the opportunity is clear. Royal connection makes her brand valuable again. For William, the danger is clear. His father's mercy could become his future burden. And that is the uncomfortable truth at the heart of this entire moment. Harry and Meghan may not need to win the public argument in order to get what they want. They may only need Charles to keep opening the door. Queen Elizabeth closed that door at Sandringham because she understood the stakes. King Charles may now be opening it because blood is blood. But blood is not a royal strategy. And if he is not careful, the king may discover that forgiving Harry privately is one thing, while rebuilding a place for the Sussexes inside the royal story is something far more dangerous.
There's no cash coming in. And so you do wonder, especially if Mr. Justice Nicklin orders Harry to write a check for $15, $20, $25 million, whether financial pressure is going to come in. And Harry, who knows? I'm hearing from Kelvin Mackenzie that Harry may have to sell the Montecito mansion. I don't think people have quite come to terms with the financial peril that the Sussexes face in the medium term.
Well, okay, I think there's a couple of things. I think, I strongly believe that there is a Diana documentary coming out next year on Netflix,
Wow.
for which they've probably been paid millions. And
Which, of course, will not happen with the permission of William. He'll be furious about that.
where he's making his own one for the BBC, I'm
he really?
told.